Hello, my friends, and welcome to another stream of Adobe Live. I'm your host, Kieran Lewis, a freelance graphic designer based in London. And on today's stream, we have the very talented graphic designer and illustrator, Shantanu Sharma. Shantanu, how you doing, my friend?
Great to be here, Kieran. So nice to be streaming again. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know this is not your first rodeo, so I know you're super comfortable in this space. So I'm excited to see your work and see the design process. I'm super excited
Likewise,
for it.
super excited to be designing live. Happy to be here again. So let's get into it.
Nice. Awesome. And I can see our folks in the chat coming in nice and thick and fast. So hello to Sam, Richard, Gareth, Carol. As always, please do get your comments in the chat. And whilst Shantanu is in his design flow, I'll make sure I'll share that directly with him. So if you're on YouTube, Behance, send some love through the chat and I'll share that. And on a final note, if you haven't already, please, my friends, subscribe to our Adobe Live on YouTube channel, where you can follow us at Adobe Live on Instagram. And there you can see the latest streams, updates, and so much more. So, Shantanu, my friend, it's that time upon us. Would you like to introduce yourself a bit and about what we're working on for today?
Of course, yeah. So as you kind of covered, my name is Shantanu Sharma. I'm a designer from New Delhi, India, but I'm currently based in New York. Just have my website open. You can find my work at shantanu.work. A lot of my work is kind of revolves around packaging, illustration, brand design, typography, motion. Also started to experiment a bit with 3D. So just trying to keep all avenues open.
Yeah.
Fairly like fresh out of college, spent a couple of years working, and I work for an ad agency. So doing work for like Nike, KFC, Corona, and it's been fun. Good learning experiences. So.
Small brands. I love them. Just
Yeah,
I love
you may or may not have heard of them. And yeah, you can find my work at shantanu.sharma on Instagram as well. But today is all about Adobe Illustrator. I just wanted to, it's spring here in New York and around the world, I guess. So just wanted to embrace that and kind of create something spring themed and spring inspired and go through my experience and like my workflow from sketch to vector to final product. So I want to keep this incredibly collaborative with the chat and everybody here. Happily be able to take suggestions and like pick everyone's brains just to keep things interactive.
Nice.
And I just love talking to everybody here just because like
Nice.
such a great community. So we got to make the most of that. So
we do love a poll as well in the chat. So I know when we had a little catch up, we definitely, you mentioned you want to get everyone collaborating and getting involved. So you heard it first, my friends, from Shantanu straight away. Please do any suggestions. If you want to add a poll in there and just add things in there, please do let me know. And I'm sure we'll be happy to oblige. So yeah, let's jump into it when you're ready.
Awesome. Yeah. So as you can see here, I usually start with a sketch, super like quick and scrappy. These are characters I've kind of been developing over the time in the last few months. So a bit comfortable with like how they form, but it's always good to like start with a pen and paper and then just take an iPhone picture, drop it on Illustrator, and then sort of vectorize it from there. So we're going to keep things super simple and like just use simple vector shapes. And then create a collaborative poster that we can all work together with. So I usually just start with a couple artboards, drop it in, and then start creating. But again, if anyone in the chat has any like suggestions about like facial expressions, what they like to see, that'd be awesome. And we can kind of create and build these characters together. So super simple, just yeah.
Like I said, just throwing it out there, like these characters, they're quite distinctive looking, but like where do you get inspiration from? Like do you watch cartoons, movies, go out? Like where do you kind of get your flow to kind of maybe start even drawing in the first before even designing on screen?
I mean, it's all about like the culture and things that you sort of consume throughout your life that kind of influences things, right? It's really hard to sort of pinpoint where you get your influences from. But I would say like just watching lots of cartoons growing up, sort of mixing up with like different styles and vector shapes. I'm from India, so things that are super colorful and detailed oriented and lots of floral patterns depending on which part of the country you're in. So it's incredibly exciting. And like, again, it's really hard to pinpoint where exactly you pick up your inspiration from, but it's always nice to sort of think about that as well. So yeah.
I think we've got our first even comment note in terms of I mean, you've opened the floodgates now to the comments. I'm excited for this. We've got Mo who said, I want to see stars in capital letters, stars. So I feel like there's occasion. There we go. It's like we got our first
star.
Throw them in there, my friends. So great one, Mo.
So again, we're just using simple shapes here, and then using the star tool, and you can kind of move around with the arrow keys just to adjust and like figure out the points. And then just drop them all together again, super simple. And then we can start adding colors once we have the solid vector shapes in place. So then again, just using this as sort of like a reference,
Mm.
and like sort of to build upon. Obviously, everything you want to be. I like to keep things super symmetrical and perfect, and kind of start from there,
Nice.
and then just play around with different shapes. So I just love Adobe Illustrator. Like I feel like most people who start learning any Adobe software kind
Mm.
of has their one favorite where they sort of started learning, and
Is that
kind
your
of like
favorite, is it?
basically I started learning Adobe Illustrator before I got into like Photoshop or After Effects.
Nice.
So I feel like everyone's style is kind of informed by what they learned
Mm.
first. Like designers who are used to like Photoshop or used to putting a lot of textures and things on it. And obviously with Illustrator, there's like a lot more room to like
Mm.
experiment with like vector shapes.
Do you know, I wonder if it's funny you mentioned that, the idea of like everyone's got that favorite, and maybe because Illustrator, I mean, I use InDesign a lot more, but
Mhm.
Illustrator's always got a soft spot. And I think, do you know, going back to like using paint, I wonder if
Yeah,
there's like an element of like the freedom of just throwing things on a canvas and having fun with it. I don't know if there's maybe elements of that from childhood, and then it comes into more refined elements, i.e. Illustrators, but maybe
basically.
there's some of that maybe which we all have
Oh,
buried
for
in our
sure.
brains.
That's a great point. Like honestly, I use the Live Paint bucket tool on
Nice.
Illustrator all the time, and I'm going to be using it today as well. And like it just
Nice.
takes me back to those days in like computer class where you're just like pressing a button trying to make different
Everything is
colors.
painted. I love that.
Basically.
This is looking cool, man. I'm loving these shapes you're creating.
Thank you. Yeah, just again keeping it super simple and then like using simple vector shapes to kind of modify and form things accordingly. And
Mm.
then it starts to take a life of its own. So just filling in the shapes, using the eyedropper tool, and then building it
Mm.
from there. Yeah.
And you mentioned obviously that you graduated from college not long ago. Is that right in saying?
A couple years
So
ago, actually, yeah. So
okay.
I'm, I guess I would say I'm fairly young. Graduated a couple of years ago from School of Visual Arts in New York,
Oh, okay.
and just been working at an ad agency ever since. So, I mean, it's
Nice.
been nice. Like, I didn't really anticipate getting into advertising, but I'm
Mm.
here and it seems to be working so far.
I mean, the reason why I asked as well because it's great because again with Adobelive we have such a wide range of folks who tune in regardless of the skill level, if they're starting out or if they're just curious about design in general and their hair. And it's always interesting when if you kind of come via the educational route as it were into work, or if not, when it came to when you were say in college or even out of college, in terms of like upskilling and sharpening the skills, was there like a go-to tool? Would you watching tutorial? Were you watching Adobe Live? I'm just throwing it out there. Was there anything that you kind of had that it really helped you, or was it even the education, the college career part? Was that quite helpful in itself? But yeah, what was your
Quite a
space
mix
in
of
that?
both, actually. Like, I feel like
Mm,
when you're a student, you're making so much work in such a short period of time that you won't necessarily have that opportunity ever again. Just
oh,
speaking from my experience, like I felt like I was creating something new almost every day, and it's something that I start to do over here, especially
nice.
at work. But yeah, I felt like as a student, you're also like forced to be a little bit more obsessive about things depending on how passionate you are. And then you can kind of just like
Nice.
go in from there. And being in New York definitely helps. It's a great source of
Mm,
inspiration. I feel like a lot of creatives are either here or going to be here at some point in their lives. I wouldn't say it's like the
nice.
be all end all place to be, but you definitely have like lots of perks that if you take leverage of it,
The
can be definitely
go-to place.
yeah, beneficial.
Yeah. And on that, I mean, that's a good time to mention, where you're tuning in from in the chat. If you're on YouTube, Hans, excuse me, let us know where you're tuning in from. It'd be great to know. You mentioned New York is where you're at right now. Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool. I haven't been. I've been once, but again, I feel like I need to go a lot more just to experience that kind of maybe art culture. I'm in
Mhm.
Brooklyn, but yeah, there's a lot to see and do. But then London is too, so it's pros and cons, right?
Yeah, London's amazing. Like, there's so many
Mm,
good galleries, like a lot of good galleries that you have in New York are actually based in London as well. I was there
nice,
a couple times last year, so it was a solid experience. So
nice.
I've just been a city boy my whole life. Like I was born in Colombo in Sri Lanka, and then um, grew up in Singapore and Dubai, and then just sort of
Wow. Okay.
yeah,
You made your way around the around the atlas. I love that on the map.
basically
That's pretty cool. That was
yeah. So
pretty cool.
I definitely thrive in like a more industrial setting, and like I like the
Mm,
overstimulation and um, sort of just like the energy that you get when living in a big city.
yeah,
So it's nice.
nice. I can see what you're doing now as well. You're kind of marrying up everything. Obviously, you've drawn over, which is quite nice. So
Mhm.
it's you got that kind of guide to kind of work from, which is great.
Basically, yeah. So just creating the like super simple shapes looks a bit scrappy at the moment, but then as we get to sort of refining things and adding color and like making more solid shapes, it'll start to take form.
Mm.
Um, But yeah, again, if the chat has any like suggestions for facial expressions, colors, anything you'd like to see it being,
Yeah,
any names that you'd like to call them, that'd be awesome because we're
that's
gonna
a
be
good
ending.
one.
We're gonna be making 4 of these little boys, and then sort of marrying them and just making a grid, and then creating a poster at the end of it. So just start
Nice.
thinking about like names that you'd like to see, or anything that you'd like to see with like incorporating typography or like a title for the poster. So again, want to keep this
Mm.
super interactive and super fun. So it's been fun.
I love that you mentioned as well, like the because again, we can throw, like you mentioned, we can throw colors, even expressions for faces, but the names are always quite interesting because when we've done a few polls, which they always turn up quite funny because you never know people are obviously thinking, but also the names where it's kind of like a play on certain elements they can see as well. I
Yeah.
don't know if it was Mo who mentioned the stars, so maybe there could be a star in it. I don't know. I don't want to influence the decision, of course not. But
Go
any
for it.
ideas you might have, which Shantanu said, please do let us know. And all names are welcome. Of course, keep it PG, but all names are welcome. Yeah, we'll go
Yeah,
for
keep
it.
it interesting. I love it.
We've got a few actually. We've got Flower Bud. Actually, Flower Bud, is that a suggestion to do or is that a name? Vanshishka, let us know if that's, or if it's both. I mean, yeah, curveball. Let us know which one that is. And we've got Mo who said, and I think this means to maybe for the second character that you do, I want to see an angry one.
Nice.
Um, there we go. Hope you're not angry now. I hope you're in a good mood, but maybe that's just the
An
style we're going
amazing
for, you know,
mood.
mix it up. All good.
But yeah, that's awesome. Again, any questions, any suggestions, always keep it welcome. That's awesome.
So I can see obviously you're quite you're kind of churning through it quite quickly, and with these updates and updates, the little tips and tricks. Were there any like a go-to tool that you like to use? I mean, obviously I see you duplicating, rotating, and that always kind of be quite a nice one when you're working with illustrations. But is there any kind of go-to tool that you like to use basically?
Yeah, I love Pathfinder.
Mm,
That's a tool I kind of learned a bit late. You can sort of just take a
mm,
couple shapes and then merge them, sort of like this, to create like your basic shape. And just duplicating things. Uh, so I usually just like select all, Command C, Command F to paste in place, and then hold Shift and then merge. And then you've got like these
nice.
shapes over here that are all sort of individual.
Mm,
But then if you select them all and then hit the tool, it just creates one shape, which is awesome. Um, and then you can just sort of take that and use it as like a primary function over here. And I might save
mm.
like a few shapes as well, just so we have them for our second
Oh,
character.
rainy day. I like
Rainy
that.
day.
It's cool as well when you're mentioning the tips and tricks because I think that's the beauty of these programs, but especially if you're kind of tuned in and this is all very much new to you. When you see obviously Shantanu working quite quickly, but it's these kind of like shortcuts that just make life a lot easier for designers. I guess it's the more streamlined way of working, right? And that probably takes time because the more you get familiar with it, the more you start to know what the shortcuts are, and it's a
For
bit
sure.
easier.
I mean, it's all practice at the end of the day. Like,
Mm,
if you put time into anything, you can become just like good at anything, really. So, um,
exactly.
like I used to hate math at school, and it wasn't really something that I wanted to pursue. But everybody used to tell me like, if you put some time into it, you'll get good at it. And I was like, this is not really something I feel like I
I
should
know you're a
want to.
designer like us. I love
Basically,
it.
yeah. Just used to like spend most of my time investing in stuff like this. So happy it worked
That's
out.
hilarious. I totally echoed that as well in terms of like maths wasn't my strongest, but I mean I like to draw on the maths school books if that counts, but yeah, you get
Yep.
in trouble for that, and that's a whole stream in itself. But yeah, and we've got a comment from it was that flower bud comment actually. So Vanshishka said, make one flower side let me start again. Make one flower side eye the other.
Nice. Yeah, let's
There we
do it.
go. That was like a tongue twister there. Yeah, keep them coming, my friends. Keep them coming. And actually, just to go back, so Mo's in an angry mood. He just said it. He wants to see how it looks. That's good to him. I'm glad that makes us happy.
Awesome. Yeah, so we got like a solid foundation here. Obviously, like we don't want the lines to be showing.
Mm,
There's easy solves to that. You can either sort of use the Pathfinder tool or just like make uh, make it a solid shape and sort of overlay things. But I usually just like to keep things super clean when it's just line art, just so I can like make different points and then select things and sort of delete it with the white arrow key. Um,
nice.
Again, there's like a million ways to do everything. That's like one of the strongest parts about softwares like these, and everybody has sort
Mm,
of their own workflow, which is always exciting to see. So sometimes I'm like a little bit nervous sharing because I'm just like, oh my God, what if what if someone else just completely disagrees and has a completely
No
different
judgment.
method? Exactly.
And to be
But
fair, the chances are probably will, and it's. I'm so glad you mentioned that because that's the beauty of why we do these streams, right? Where you get to get an insight into a designer's design methodology. And to be fair, everyone's got their kind of own ways of working, like you said, right? Behind
yeah,
closed doors, getting that deliverable, we all get there eventually. It's just the various routes we take to get there.
basically.
Um, so yeah, and actually on that topic, I mean, in terms of like workspace, what sort of setup are you using now? Are you on a tablet? Are you using mouse right now to kind of create these lines? What's your
I'm on a
yeah,
MacBook Pro and I'm just
cool.
using my trackpad. I get a lot of flack for it, just because like people sort of expect like working designers to have like this insane setup with two screens and
No,
use a mouse, but like
such a
I keep things.
stereotype. I love that.
I just
That's
keep
pretty
things
much
like
what I have.
nice. I mean, like there's pros and cons to it, but like I just like to keep things super minimal and clean. And sometimes my fingers can hurt. Sometimes I might get carpal tunnel. Hopefully not, but
Not live on the stream, I love to.
oh, hopefully not. But yeah, I mean, just keeping things super like simple and easy. I mean, I used to work on like a 13-inch MacBook Pro when I was in college, and then I got upgraded and got like a work computer that's like a little bit
Nice.
bigger but still works and does the job. So
Nice.
nice little upgrades here and there, but I like to keep things super simple.
On that topic of kind of keeping things quite nice, simple, and neat, and this is no judgment whatsoever, I promise you that. When it comes to your layer system, if you're using Photoshop, are you nicely organized layers, or are you a color code, or are you just like, you know what, we get there, we get there? Again, just putting it out there, we've had a whole variety of folks on the stream, and each one has their own different way. So I will not judge you, and neither will our streams, I hope, if you let us know what you do when it comes to your layering system.
It depends who's going to see the file. Is
Nice.
my answer. Like if I have to send it to someone, I'll be respectful and go through that process.
Nice.
And if
That's
it's
so
like
considerate.
basically, I mean, you kind of have to be, right, to be a
Of
good
course, of
designer, is to have
course.
empathy. So
I love that. And we've got Mo who said he's got a question for you, Shantanu. He said, so what is your favorite keyboard shortcut?
I just like paste in place. So just Command C, and then you can Command F, and then it's just there, and then you have another shape to be formed. So basically that. I mean, like I when I learned about it, kind of like increased my pace in my workflow so
Yeah.
significantly. And it's been just been like a super helpful tool, especially for things like this, which are incredibly vector based. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm just cleaning up the illustration here, and then we can sort of get into creating our different character. Sort of using this as a foundation. So as you can see, we started with a sketch over here, and then sort of took that as a base and used that to create this little flower, flower character here. A little bit of a brain freeze.
I was tongue twisted. No, I got that.
It's you and
Nice.
me both today. So
it's the vibes in the air. And actually, Mo, going back to what Mo said, that question, the keyboard shortcut. Let us know, Mo. Do you have a keyboard shortcut? Is it actually now copy and paste? Now that you've seen what Shantanu can do, you can do a mean copy and paste. Let us know in the chat. And that's for everyone in the chat. Do you have a favorite command or tool to use in whichever program you like? Would love to hear it. I think we've got some folks in the chat who maybe know you as well. We've got Amy Fang.
oh,
Does that
nice.
name ring a bell? He said, "Woo,
Yeah.
Shantanu." There we go. That rhymes. I didn't realize that. There we go. So it's
She's
good
an
for it.
amazing designer. Everyone should check her out.
Nice. So welcome, my friend. I can see we've got some folks who just popped in as well. Hi, Izzy. How you doing? Again, we have the awesome Shantanu, graphic designer based in New York, and we're working on some really cool characters in Illustrator. So let us know if you've got any questions, and I'll be sure to share it with Shantanu.
Awesome. Yeah, so we're just gonna make two different characters and sort of use these initial shapes as a foundation. Sort of using a square grid over here that we can sort of apply and then include typography once we get to it. So I'm just going to start working on the second character, but if anyone has any suggestions for like emotions or things that they like to see this little bud have expressed, that'd be awesome. So just like keeping it super interactive and collaborative.
Was that a flower pun there when you said little bud? I'm just saying, my ears pricked up when you said that. I was like, I can hear the puns left, right, and center coming at me.
Great catch.
There we go. Just we're suckers for puns at Adobe Live. So again, when it comes to the names of characters, my friends in the chat, if you've got any cool names, bonus points if you bonus points if you have any flower related or maybe weather related puns in the names. Just saying.
Yeah. My God, the tongue twisters don't end today.
It's just the beginning, buddy. We're only half an hour to the stream. I love that. We've got Mo. You got exactly. Got Mo who said so their favorite keyboard shortcut is Command left right arrow to make the type smaller and bigger. Yeah, zooming in with the emoji sunglasses. There we go. Can't forget that one. And we've got Robert
who's showing off now.
Yeah, there was no need for that. Maybe there was. It's great. We love it. We love the comments. Keep them coming. We've got Robert who said shapes is fun to work with. You can do a hand with help of. Let me start again. Sorry. Shapes is fun to work with. You can do a hand with help of only one Hedecagon. Why can't I even speak my words?
Oh my God, is that a shape?
Yeah, I thought maybe I'm really silly for not knowing what that was. I was like, I know hexagon, but let us know. Is that a 10 side? I don't know.
God,
let us know. Educate us, Robert. We don't know, but we would like to know. So let us know what that is. And there we go.
Yes, please.
In fact, we should maybe start the. Oh, sorry, but I interrupted you there.
No, go for it.
I was going to say maybe we should set the oh, it's 11 size, by the way, that shape. There we go. Thanks, Robert, for the educate. We did not know that.
Learn
I
something
was saying maybe
day.
we could get the ball rolling with the names. Maybe we could think of some names to maybe get the chat thinking about names.
Yeah.
Do you have any? I mean, whilst you're designing, no pressure to stop and then think. And I have to think myself actually.
I know. Let's not influence any decisions here. Hopefully, we get some.
It's all very political all of a sudden. I love that. Where's this come from?
11 side's actually a pretty good name too. Or Hendecagon.
Mr. Hendecagon. There we go.
Yeah.
Mr. Hendy. I don't know.
But yeah, so just like
yeah. No, your turn now. You go.
Awesome. So we're using just simple shapes here to create our second character. Simple foundations, trying to keep everything in a family and create a consistent system within the illustration. Looks a bit empty and silly now, but as we keep adding more details, things will start to take shape. But yeah, super excited to start adding color as well.
Nice. When it comes to, I mean, this is definitely, and maybe we're jumping ahead of ourselves a little bit here, but when it comes to the color side of things, and maybe we are jumping ahead, but do you have in fact, no, park that. Let's not go into that until we go into color. Let's talk about shapes still. We're in the shape space, though. I don't want to peak too soon. Let's keep it shapes related. There we go. Oh, wow. Okay, we've got a name actually here from Izzy. Super shy. I expect nothing less from Adobelive host Izzy. She said the name could be L and in brackets for 11 because of Stranger Things.
Sweet. Yeah, I love that show.
Super sharp. Wow. Yeah, I like that. L. Stranger Things. There we go. That's a whole different realm of chat in itself. But yeah, we're no strangers out here. Again, pun.
Nice one with the puns.
Didn't even mean to, but I'm just it's just coming out now. Projector.
Coming naturally.
L. You can see obviously it's kind of tidying up, refining those little extra bits, which is cool.
So you said you prefer InDesign more, right?
Yeah, I would say that's my working in publishing, print, editorial. That's kind of my thing. But I feel like maybe if you're I guess with advertising, you're kind of maybe dabbling into various kind of realms of different types of work. So you find you have a favorite, like mine's InDesign, but then you're forever also in Illustrator, Photoshop, and you kind of find a way that all three, maybe even more, kind of all integrate with each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, InDesign is definitely my baby.
Awesome.
Illustrator's yours, right? I'm guessing.
Illustrator's mine.
There we go.
But yeah, I mean, within advertising, there's so many different asks and realms of things to sort of explore. So keeping all options open. And I was obsessed with motion for a really long time as well. Just dabbling in After Effects, just so I knew how to use it. I try not to be restricted in skill sets and things. So trying to learn different means and mediums to sort of explore with. So it's always helpful too, because a lot of the times you may not be the one making the work, but as long as you can kind of put yourself in that position when you're working with someone who's using something or a software that you may not be familiar with, at least having a solid foundational understanding of things can definitely help.
That's a really good shout. Yeah, I think just to kind of add on to that, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head there, where it's just, even if it's not your thing, just having maybe like a basic understanding, if that's something that you want to do, of course, and that can only benefit, you know, your skill set. And I guess maybe have a different perspective on creativity. You know, if you're kind of dabbling, say, in motion, or if you're in editorial, you kind of have a feel for different things, which is quite cool.
Yeah, or even 3D for that matter. Just like seeing things differently, or like working in Illustrator, I'm so used to seeing things in 2D and like seeing them flat. Of course, the Illustrator has like some great 2D capabilities now, but testing that out and like thinking in a different dimension, no pun intended.
I was gonna say, I thought if I didn't say it. There we go.
Definitely just helps elevate your work and like your thought process as well. So.
Nice. I mean, that's a good time to mention as well. If you are streaming, watching us on YouTube perhaps, I mean, you're obviously in a good space right now to even, you know, be inspired. And hopefully, if Illustrator is not maybe your thing, or even don't really know much about it, you know, you're seeing Shantanu firsthand designing, you know, using these awesome graphics and shapes. And of course, any questions you've got, if you're curious to know, promise you there's no such thing as a silly question. Please do let us know, and we'll make sure to answer it for you.
Yeah, all questions are welcome. Like I love asking silly questions, quote unquote, because like if I don't know anything, then it's super important to like figure that out.
Yeah, and we've got some suggestions as well now. We've got Francesca, who said, try make some clouds in the background. That could be quite cool. I guess
Nice.
that kind of drifting clouds, and
yeah,
quite nice.
We'll keep that in the background.
Are they dreaming, like the heads in the clouds? There we go. There we go. Need to stop these puns. It's terrible now.
Keep them going.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just adjusting the shape here. Like obviously we're using a super rough sketch. We want to keep things like a bit refined and sort of symmetrical, and then you can kind of see like where things aren't really lining up, and then you got to kind of edit those. You can fix those lines. But yeah.
I love when you mentioned, because obviously it's symmetrical, and then kind of going back to what you said about you as a designer being like quite nice and neat and simple. Do you ever find sometimes like we're almost a reflection of how we work as well? So like the idea of everything's got to be quite precise, right? And we all have elements of that. Depends what, you know, kind of creative you are, or person in general. But yeah, I can see from what you're saying, it kind of mirrors what you're working on now. This idea of, you know, it's nice within the lines.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree, wholeheartedly agree with that. Like your work and sort of your style is definitely a reflection of yourself, depending on like obviously how much you put into it. But yeah, I mean, like I try to be a very neat and tidy person. Like I'm very particular about a lot of my things, and I just try to keep things super light and simple in general. I don't have a lot of stuff, so just that kind of sort of reflects in my work. Sometimes it could be minimal, but sort of like organized chaos if it has to be super busy, which is nice.
I had a vision by mistake. You pressed the minimize, and we see your desktop, and it's just full of folders. I'm just playing with you, yeah. But each to their own. I mean, if that is you, then we are not here to judge. That is you. Obviously, find a way of working, like you said, organized kind of, you know, method to the madness, chaos. Yeah. So everyone's got their own way of working. But exactly. You made a really good point about the idea of sharing files as well, because that is something that sometimes we can forget, right, as designers, if especially if you're in the working space or freelance world, where you send a file and actually someone else will have to go through that, and it's just maybe more considerate to maybe conscious of that. So but yeah, we're all guilty of it sometimes. So
yeah,
food for thought.
I mean, there's no right way, there's just your way, right? Like, I mean, if it works for you, it works for you. So as long as you're leveraging that, that's all that matters. So
yeah, I'm liking that our character's starting to have friends now. It's like a little band kind of forming in front of our eyes, which is great.
Well, yeah, let's try and make an angry one now, since that seemed to be the consensus.
Okay. Make an angry one. I'm curious to know how their eyes are going to be formed. If it's like arrows going in or to show angry, but
let's see. Yeah, it's always good to figure out things on the stream. Like I've done this a couple times before, so it's always nice to like keep you on your toes, and then you're constantly thinking while you're working. But also just like having your thought process out loud, it's like a very fun and like a bit of a vulnerable experience as well. So it's always nice to sort of explore.
That's a really cool thing you said there. The idea of like it's the vulnerableness, but also it's you know, you're in a safe space where, you know, other creators, all just folks who are interested in creativity and in general, are here to kind of throw ideas, and that way it feels more a collaborative project, right? Because
Mhm.
I don't know if you ever find this, but and obviously maybe in a full-time space, but maybe when you're in college, if you ever found that sometimes it'd be quite a lonely route if it's just you, the desk, and a computer, right? And actually, you know, doing things like this is quite nice because you've got folks, you know, throwing suggestions and interactions. So yeah, different ways of looking at it.
For sure. I mean, like for something so like client facing or such an important service in terms
Mm.
of design, it can actually be a super isolating experience in the process of creating. So I've always
Mm.
thought about that a lot because obviously when you're in college, you're just constantly working.
Of
So just
course.
like being in that zone and then you're just kind of like thinking to yourself and out loud. So I like doing these
Mm.
little things where your sort of your like thought process is kind of like on display for everyone to watch. Um,
Nice.
and yeah, sometimes it's nice.
Of course. I mean, and that's a perfect time. It's almost like organically that's led into the idea of, again, if you are someone who's watching for the first time and thinking, oh, I would love to be featured on this, or know someone who would also like to be featured on here. If you look on our Behance tab, we've got a guest recommendation tab. Click on that, and you can go through the form, and hopefully you can be on the next Adobe Live. So yeah, on what Shantanu was saying, it's a cool experience. So yeah, digest it in, and hopefully we will see you there, my friends.
Yeah, that's awesome. I used to love tuning into these things when, uh,
Mm.
like now, and especially when I was a student. Like it just uh, brings me back. Like it's always nice to like sort of see things that and people's work processes that you're definitely not used to seeing because again, everybody
Mm.
has their own sort of toolkit and things that they sort of rely on. So I learned about the
Yeah.
Pathfinder tool on like a stream and then just like
Ah, okay.
little things. So I mean, as you can see, like my if you're familiar with the program, my I just use the default settings because I'm just so used to it.
I'm good for it.
Um,
Yeah.
like I just have everything that I need over here or like would possibly use. But yeah,
Mm.
just keeping things again super simple and like reflective of your personality, I guess, which is always
Yeah.
fun.
It's always cool to see like different folks' sort of workspace setup as well. I mean, it's almost like it's almost, I don't know if it's the same, but it's almost like stepping into someone's flat or house and
Yeah,
seeing how they have things set up, and you know, you don't go in and judge. It's more that's works for them, right? Quite proud of that analogy. But yeah, I
yeah.
don't know if that's a cool thing to kind of work in space. And you mentioned the idea of working in your space, and you know, I'm quite curious. Do you, for example, when you're in an essence of working on a project or you're in the flow of it, when you have a bit of a say creative block, or
Mhm.
you know you're kind of stuck on it, what's kind of your go-to, or do you have like a go-to thing, whether it's go for a walk, step away from the screen, or you know that kind of allows you to kind of have a bit more of a clearer mind moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. Being in New York City definitely helps, and
Mm.
leveraging your environment, your surroundings, and meeting new people, talking about things, and then going to see galleries and museums definitely helps. And also, just try not to be in your head about a lot of things, because, like I said,
Mm.
design can be a very isolating experience sometimes. It's nice to sort of talk to other people, gain some perspective, and like figure out that things aren't like as serious as you should probably be taking them. So it's it's just nice to get different perspectives and like have conversations with other designers and other people about these things. But also
Mm.
more importantly, talk to people who aren't in your field. It's nice to sort of gain that understandings of different industries and people and
Mm.
see how their work and life goes into things. So like as creative people, I feel like we definitely put a lot of emphasis into
Mm.
like making our work kind of our life a little bit. Um, so
Mm.
and like that's definitely helps with creating amazing work. Like I feel like if I'm not entirely passionate about something, I don't think the work's going to be as good. But that's sort of a balance I'm trying to find right now where I can give
Mm.
like enough of myself as opposed to every single ounce. So
Mm. And that's a good point. I mean, it happens, right? I guess we're only human, and it's those elements where we want to be the best of ourselves every single day when it comes to projects. But just like anyone, I feel like if in the chat, you know, it'd be great to know your experiences or any thoughts on this. But you know, you might wake up or you might straight thinking it's a struggle sometimes to kind of get into that creative zen space, especially if you've got like deadlines, right? Which is a tricky one. But I guess the more maybe you work on projects, the more you find your flow, or you know what you're able to kind of you know, the best you basically, how do you kind of get to that level, whether that's stepping away from the screen or like what you're saying, going to galleries, exhibitions. It's quite nice, but again, it'd be great to know in the chat, you know, what do you guys do in the chat, you know, when it comes to when you've got a creative block, what is your kind of go-to move? Is it watching Adobe Live? Is it that? If you want to know that, let us know. We would love to hear is that. Yeah, please do share. That'd be great to hear you guys.
But yeah, so just like creating different expressions. This one turned out to be a bit more sad than angry. We can put a pause on that. But yeah, I mean, let's start adding color into these things, just to see how it works. I think we're like in a comfortable spot to do that. And then we can kind of see how things are looking once all the shapes and lines are cleaned up with like solid colors. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty spring themed. I love bright, vibrant colors. Got lots of like pinks, yellows, purples over here. I usually try to like test things out right before, and it seems to be like a color palette that I like to rely on. Yellow is my favorite color, and then I think it just goes really well with like different accents of pinks.
Yeah, nice.
I usually add them into my swatches here and create little libraries, but I feel like it's easier because I always end up just like making little swatches and rectangles here. It's like it's a nice little colorful grid to like to just be reminded of like what things are things to come. So
it's like I mean, paint bucket, right on the screen.
Basically,
I love that.
Going back to Microsoft Paint days. So yeah, I mean, we're just starting with like different tones and like seeing what works. It's all very much trial and error. And then so we have like these two foundational shapes over here, and then I usually just select all and sort of get into hit K and then get into like your live paint bucket. And it's super easy because you can just start filling in colors by tapping them, and that seems to be like the most efficient method based on how much time you may have. Again, it depends. Like ideally, it would be a good world to like sort of make every shape have its own exist independently and have their own sort of color box that you can sort of isolate in things. But for the sake of this exercise, we're just going to use the paint bucket. So just going into different colors, trying different things, seeing what works.
There's something quite satisfying, right? Using the paint bucket and just watching it, just dipping in it. I mean, even better when you're actually just watching it straight from a stream. But yeah, it is quite fun. Just you kind of put the skeleton and then the meat goes on the bone.
Yeah.
A graphic analogy, sorry. But yeah, there we go. It's quite a cool way of doing it.
So yeah, just testing out the colors, testing out the tones, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. And then it's just nice to like sort of use the eyedropper tool and then just fill them in. There's a really great tool with like color switchers to make like change global colors that we can sort of get into if we need to. But I like to keep things super manual, and like my sensor on my trackpad is incredibly sensitive just because I move really fast and like to keep things like really like smooth and fluid. So yeah, I mean, I just like everyone has their own sort of process to work with, so it's fun to get into it.
When you said that, I just straight away thought of like the idea of like a car, right? And you jump in a car and everyone's got that kind of, whether it's the seat being a certain angle or preference of certain things. It's like, have you done it? Well, have you been in a situation where you kind of maybe jumped into another designer's computer and then it's a whole different lockup, but you don't want to trouble it. You don't want to change it because that's their way of, and you kind of adapt into it, but it does still feel like sleeping in someone else's bed, right? I don't know if it's a thing, but it's like, yeah, it's difficult to adapt sometimes. No, I know I struggle with it sometimes.
Definitely. Like, I mean, it's like, again, getting into other people's files, especially when you're working. It's everybody has their own sort of setups and like personalities that they sort of reflect into it. But yeah, I mean, it's all, again, to be a good designer is to have lots of empathy too, just because you're placing yourself and making work for a lot of people. So just being adaptable and like finding ways to get into those situations is definitely super helpful too.
And we've got some color suggestions here. We've got maybe we could try some cyan.
Yeah,
could be quite a cool way of doing it, maybe for other characters or for that one. It feels like it's quite nice at this stage because it's kind of the experiment. I mean, everything's quite experimental, but it's you're gonna have to try, right, and see how things work. And just basically, because I guess with color and shapes, it can sometimes merge in depending on the contrast of color you have. So that's quite interesting when you kind of have to, dip in and dip out to see what works for you.
Definitely. Yeah, so you're using the outline as sort of like a guide and a base to sort of see the shapes. But then I think it's like cooler when you can take the outline off and see how that looks, and kind of like the look and feel of that at the moment. So we'll probably stick with it.
I want that as a sticker, Shantanu, on my computer, man. It's looking cool, dude.
Thank you so much. But yeah, let's start adding different colors to all these their little siblings. and see how it goes. So just using like the same sort of foundational elements, right? We want to create a system that can sort of work together. Like I love brand design. I love to think in systems and sort of see different consistent elements that can be sort of reimagined for different purposes. So kind of applying the same principles here within these illustrated characters using simple vector shapes. So using consistent foundations, but also just breaking out of it a little bit just to see what else you can create. Because ultimately they're all going to be ended up here in like a little poster with some type that we'll get into shortly.
Nice.
So yeah, just gonna go through quickly. Let's add some cyan and maybe some chartreuse in there too. So.
And that's a good time to mention. I mean, we're already, you know, like half an hour into the stream, which is going to have flown by. But if you have just joined us on whether it's YouTube or Behance, firstly, welcome. Thank you for being here, my friends. And today we have a very cool designer by the name of Shantanu Sharma. And he's working on a spring-themed poster using vectorized shapes, all from sketches, I might add. And now we're in that space of experimenting some color, and we're going to see it happen right before our eyes. So yeah, any questions you have, please do throw them out there. And actually, we've got some comments on the names now. We've got names,
Awesome.
Shantanu. We've got them. Yes, my friend. I knew you wouldn't let us down. Thank you, my friends. We've got Alpha and Omega.
Nice.
There we go.
Let's keep a note of that.
Jot these down, and then yeah, have a name off at the end to see who got it. So kind of going back, got some questions kind of going back into, you know, your design kind of background and whatnot. Do you find, I mean, a project like this is obviously nice because you can kind of, you know, take your time with it, you know, you can draw your scans, scan them in, but I guess with the world of work and whatnot and deadlines, it's a little bit fast paced, right, in essence. So do you find that you still, regardless of the project you're working on, whether it's in your full-time or side projects, you still very much try and find time to, you know, do that initial stage of sketching first and then compute it? Or do you just, sometimes you're in that moment where you have to just maybe jump on a screen and kind of play with it because of timing?
A little bit of both. Like I'm in advertising, and the ad industry just moves incredibly fast. Like lots of last minute requests, and kind of keeps you on your toes to be incredibly flexible and like agile. So it's kind of nice because I feel like you're just expanding your toolkit. So what I kind of do is I have like 10 or 15 tricks or methods that I sort of remix and rely on initially just to get those out of the way and like kind of have that in my system and toolkit. Just so there's already a good body of work to use as a foundation to sort of pick apart and like take things that are working and take things that aren't and create things on your own. So yeah, I feel like I start with just relying on sort of that same sort of toolkit, and then expanding on that, seeing what works better, and then finding new suggestions and outcomes out of it as well. So it's keeps you on your toes. So it's nice.
I mean, it's healthy, right? Because I guess it's with our industry, it can be a little, depending on if you're full-time, freelance, or even a student, right, or grad, where we can kind of get set in our ways a little bit. And that's not something we want to do, right? As creators, we want to keep on that, not the intenseness of it, but just stuff that kind of keeps us, you know, afloat and keeps us going, whether that's watching tutorials or so forth. So yeah, it's always interesting hearing hearing just, you know, different folks' perspective in it all, because it is a fast-paced industry, just me in general, the creative industry, right? And yeah, it's all good. We've got Tara who mentioned so for names, we should name them all after flowers. I totally agree, but Tara, throw a name out there, just get the ball rolling. What name would you like to pick for some of these characters, and then the domino effect will happen. I'm sure we have throw some names out there.
Yeah, just Google some names of flowers and drop them in the chat.
Well, weirdly enough, I wasn't even going to mention it, but now it feels weird not to. So my daughter, well, soon to be daughter in a few weeks' time.
Oh, congrats!
Thank you. It's called Willow. So there we go. It's on the nature theme. If anyone did mention that, I'd be like, what kind of person would I be to not mention that's going to be my daughter's name? So there we go. That's my suggestion of names.
That's exciting. So much to look forward to.
It is indeed, buddy. It's that in itself. That's another stream, I feel like, right? To talk about like how the balance of work life and freelance. But yeah, it's all good. I think like watching these streams, or even just speaking to designers in general, like it's so interesting hearing how other folks kind of deal with the pressures of whether it's real world stuff, on top of the design industry, right, and balancing it out. So yeah, on that topic of soon to be a dad, that in itself is a whole balance of freelance and real life. So but it's always nice to hear other folks And that's the beauty of being a host, I guess. You get to speak to different lovely creators like yourselves. So it's all good.
Glad to be here with you. So awesome.
Yeah. For the love, man. I love it. I love it. And actually, what you lovely folks in the stream don't know is that Shantanu and I, we spoke yesterday, and I realized the bond was already there. It's going to come out, Shantanu. I'm going to mention it. But
I'm so glad it is.
I would mention, of course, the bond is already there, and that's because both Shantanu and I are also Arsenal fans. And don't worry, we're not going to go off piece and talk about that a lot, but I wanted to get that into the stream because that in itself kind of brought us a little bit closer. No, I don't know.
It's a must for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bond with like the collective sort of pain we've experienced over the years.
The pain that bonds us brothers from afar overseas. I love that. But bringing it back to designer, because that's why you lovely folks are here. Of course we are. We've got names, Shantanu. So we've got Magnolia. I like that name actually.
Nice.
That's a strong name. We have got Carnation. Carnation. Where no prisoners. I love it. Alpha Chi Omega is a flower name. That sounds like a strong name. That's a name and a T and loads of other things on top. But Buds and Roses.
Nice.
Buds and Roses. Love it. Oh, these puns are not wasting us. I promise you. Keep them coming, my friends. Keep them coming. And actually, what we're gonna have to do is maybe we could do a poll or something, or just something that way we can kind of limit, because there's some lovely names out there, suggestions. So keep them coming, my friends. Please.
Let's do it. I mean, if you have time, we can make individual posters as well. So
I like your thinking, man. I like your style.
Keeps you on your toes.
You open the floodgates now for an extra 2 hours stream after this one. There we go.
I love Carnation. That's probably my favorite.
Yeah, that stuck with me a lot actually. That kind of is kind of that character is going to cause havoc, aren't they? Just whatever they do with those sharp sides, sides. What more do you expect?
I love it. So yeah, back to you've got two little siblings here, getting on to the other two. And then different colors, but still keeping it within the same family and like limiting ourselves and sort of our toolkit. It's always nice to sort of have limitations and sort of set rules for yourself. Keeps things like a bit more grounded for me, at least personally. Obviously, you go through phases where you're trying different things and exploring different things and kind of like throwing lots of things at the wall to see what sticks. But then like picking up those pieces and sort of arranging them together like a little puzzle definitely helps. But yeah, I love to keep things consistent and sort of have it feel like a family.
It's cool you mentioned about the idea of like having those, I guess, kind of rule of thumb that you as a designer have when you're going into space, because I mean, design is so subjective, right? But there's certain things that you feel like is in place that just, and maybe it depends on each person, right? How they operate when it comes to creating a poster. There's certain ways that you would start off by doing it first before just jumping on the screen. That in itself is a rule. So it's quite interesting hearing kind of how you go about doing it, really. Every design is completely different, so it's cool to have.
So again, just trial and error here, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. Again, it's all subjective, but then you can kind of get like the tones in line and see what you kind of want to have accentuated and not. You can always go back into changing things, like super easy to change colors. Select and change and click and tap. So it's nice, it keeps my fingers moving.
On that top, when we spoke about sort of skill sets and like touching in and like video, and my brain's already, I'm seeing this as like obviously static illustrations, but I can imagine like the spikes kind of like elongating, and I'm getting into a whole different realm of streams there. I know that, but I think the reason I'm saying it is because I guess that's the beauty, right, of the programs at Adobe, where you kind of dabble in one and then you're curious to know a few more others.
For sure.
Yeah. In fact, throwing out there, if there was a question, if you could like do something extra to this, like whether it was a video like animated, or is there anything that you would want to take it in a different realm if we had more, say, extra time in our space?
Definitely animation. Like, I mean, they're characters, right? Like, they're a bit cartoony. It's always nice to see those things move and kind of have a life of their own beyond just the static realm. So definitely just trying different things, applying movement into them. You can like really have them express more personality. Maybe it's changing expression from something more standard and poker face like this to something more expressive, like this one over here. So, I mean, yeah, the possibilities are honestly endless. It's really cool to sort of dabble in and explore.
Shantanu, I just came up with a name now. No, when you just said that, ideas came to me, and you said poker face, and I'm thinking of Mr. Poker. Perfect. I don't know why I like instead of Mr. Joker, but anyway, I don't know. I'm just throwing. We went from flower names to now DZ characters. I don't know where we're getting into this space, but
Just
yeah.
keep throwing them out there. That's what they're
Each to
there
their
for.
own. I love that. We've got Mo. So I said, wait, are these flowers crying or sweating or both? They're crying because they're sweating so much. I don't know.
It's open to interpretation.
I love that. Attention to detail, Mo. I like how you think. Um,
They're like little nervous flowers, or anxious flowers, but we
anxious.
keep that open to interpretation too.
Because they know spring is here, but it's not gonna be for very long. So like, oh, okay,
Exactly.
yeah, we better
Oh my
make the
God.
most of this. That'll make anyone sweat. I don't know. I'm getting with that, but yeah. I like this. I mean, do you have, so far, based on what you've done, and I feel like when you've finished your fourth character in Illustrator, we definitely got to do a poll for that, because that'd be quite nice to know what everyone's favorite is. But just out of the three you've done so far, are you drawn into a favorite? So, or maybe it's the fourth one which you haven't done yet. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I definitely have a soft spot for the top left one.
Nice.
We're obviously exploring different things, trying different permutations of like colors and things. So it's awesome.
Nice.
I love to see these in like 3D too, like something that
yeah,
kind of give it more dimension, give it more life. That'll be pretty cool.
Have you ever like dabbled in 3D print before?
Not really, you know. I've been meaning to, but hopefully I get a chance soon. I mean, we have so much like opportunities and supplies here. It just depends on like what it is that's going to be created. So maybe one of these bad boys.
I can see these like little like ornaments on the desks right beside you. And when you're doing when you've got like those late crunch time deadlines or with pictures, you're looking at your ornament thinking, that was my time at Adobelive. I remember that day on the May 17th. Hence the, that'd be cool.
We love a souvenir.
So Tara, no, I like Tara's comment here. So their eyes are watering from pollen allergies. I can relate to that. That's a horrible feeling.
Oh my God. Is it bad for you?
It did, to a point where, and I don't want to bore the stream, but I wake up in the morning and I've got to quickly take one like straight away because it's pretty, let us know in the chat. Are you also a victim of pollen? Because it is a horrible feeling. I mean, we love going out, of course we do, but yeah, it can't be the only one. I'm sure I'm not. We've got Sam who said in terms of colors and what he likes, so the colors and shapes on the top left are really strong. So yeah, that's seeming to be everyone's favorite, but it could also be the next one. Who knows? I mean, my money's on maybe the fourth one's going to be the deal breaker, but who am I? I'm just looking in the future. I don't know.
Yeah, we're just experimenting with tones and seeing what works best. I think there's like a nice consistent harmony within these two, so probably just trying to apply it onto this as well just to see how it looks.
Nice. Do you are you a fan of like gradients as well? Do you ever like maybe play around with that, or do you like the kind of flat colors? Because both work just as good as each other, but
yeah,
you got a preference?
I think I've definitely both, depending on like sort of the context and where these things are going to live and how you kind of want to express things. I love gradients, honestly. Like I'm all for color, and any way you can sort of further accentuate that, I'm all for it, to be very honest. So yes to gradients.
Nice.
But yeah, just trial and error again, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. Again, trying to make the colors harmonious, but still trying to be sort of separate from each other.
I'm liking this style. Yeah, we're definitely not alone. Francisco, who said pollen allergy, solidarity here. You feel our pain. There we go. I told you, Shantanu, we're in a safe space with creatives here. We're all just mates and friends, just trying to get along through the pollen and through a world of shapes and design. Yeah, yeah.
I love it. We're all sharing here.
Of course. Is there any, so in terms of like projects, because I feel like, and I've definitely seen a lot of your awesome work on social, and I know we've put our links in the chat as well, so I'm sure our friends after the stream will follow up. But are there any projects that you would like to kind of get into maybe more, say for example this time next year, that you would like to dabble in more into? You mentioned obviously a bit of video that you were, was it Premiere Pro you said you dabbled in?
After Effects, yeah.
After Effects, sorry, my bad. Is that something that maybe you would want to pursue, or is it early days, you're not too sure at this stage, and it's you see what happens when it happens? Or
I definitely see like motion as a great tool to sort of expand and give life to just like all your design projects, whether it be it branding, illustration, or different packaging projects. Like it definitely adds a different dimension to things and elevates your work. So I primarily use it as a tool to sort of elevate the work that's already been created. So I
Nice.
don't necessarily see myself completely focusing on that, but
Mm.
definitely using it as a tool to help make the work better wherever possible. So
Nice.
yeah, I mean,
I like
again,
that.
like
Yeah.
just also having like a fundamental understanding of things and programs and capabilities and what's possible and what's not definitely just helps.
Mm.
Because a lot of the work that I do now is like, if I have an idea, we have a motion team at work to sort of work with and collaborate with.
Mm.
So knowing what's possible within like given amount of times, people like workload, render
Mm.
times, etc. Definitely helps to have some sort of knowledge about those things when you're like directing people or just like
Of
working
course.
with and collaborating with other creatives.
And I guess as well, like it's cool because when you have an understanding, it could be a very basic understanding as well, not like the in-depth, but just a basic understanding. There's questions that could be asked, which maybe not necessarily, I'm sure the professional hand would have known what those are already, but maybe it could get them thinking in a certain way that they never maybe saw it from a different perspective, right? So I guess it's both sides maybe have an understanding of each other's space, and rather than feeling like it's, well, once I send this piece of work to that department, they'll never see it again. At
Mhm.
least you kind of feel like you can maybe see it through a bit. And because I guess that happens sometimes with projects, right? Where you might, depending on the dynamic of the company or where you're at, you send something off and you might not see it again. With print, sometimes it's a little bit the same because once you have to print, you kind of hope it will come out how you saw it on InDesign, right? But you
Yeah,
just don't know until you're in maybe the warehouse or whatnot. But yeah, having an idea of the scope of it is an overall quite beneficial thing to do.
definitely. Yeah. I mean, the more you know, the better, right? Like in any walk of life. So,
Indeed.
yeah, trying to like make a little night mode character of the nice
Yeah.
little ray of sunshine we have here. So,
Yeah, I could see those being quite cool, like embossed or like on t-shirts or brand. I mean, it feels like it could easily be quite a cool, um, not clothing brand, but like, well, my brain obviously works in print, right? So I'm seeing
yeah,
stuff on screen. I'm thinking, what methods could we dabble into in terms of the print realm? But
love
could
it.
definitely be cool to sort of see things come out, and even stickers. To be fair, stickers on like MacBooks, like I know that's a big thing, and I need to buy some new stickers. So just putting it out there. If you make into stickers, Shantanu, hit me
Yeah.
up, and I'll get on there.
Funny you say that. I actually have like stickers of my logo that I created for myself that I usually like stick around
Ah,
everywhere.
no, I love that you had that on you. I loved it.
Got to keep
Did
it
you have that for
everywhere.
the stream, or was that just
No, I
like
just
a
it's always in my
wicked?
pocket. So
That is awesome, dude. I love that, and I love that icon that you made. Was that when you left college that you created that icon, or was that sort of lock up, or was
it's
that
actually an
during?
illustration of myself from when I was 15 years old. I made it then, and then I sort of repurposed it to kind of have a life of its own and use it as on my socials
Wicked,
as like an icon. So I mean, yeah,
wicked.
it's been funny to see how it develops because it doesn't really seem like I've changed too much in terms of like appearance.
It doesn't age. I love that. It just stays
Yeah,
the
I mean,
same.
I would hope so, but it probably needs an update. But I just
That's
ordered,
cool though.
yeah. So I just like stick it around everywhere in New York. Probably, I might do that. I'm not gonna admit to
I love that. Just casual vandalism on
vandalizing.
the. So I was like, I just go through Brooklyn, walking through the town. I'm like, oh, that's Shantani's sig like Zorro, just like the Z.
Basically, it
I love
may
that.
or may not have been me.
What gave it away? I don't know. It's just... That's hilarious. Looking good, man. I think so far, actually, I'm not just saying this generally. I'm liking this one. I mean, they're all looking awesome, but and we'll do a poll, I'm sure, shortly. But I
Yeah,
do like the fourth one.
thank you.
Mm.
Again, just like taking out the lines and sort of adds a different dimension to it.
Mm.
Just trial and error, trying different things, what works best.
It's so cool, right? I guess how the brain operates, and when you see shapes and know what they, I mean, it's obviously as a face, but like I guess it's just the way we, and I bet it's the whole theory behind this. But when you start to see shapes kind of, arranged in a certain pattern or style, and you know what that is, i.e., half a semicircle is an eye, and so forth, and you change it at an angle, and it's already an angry eye. It's quite cool. I think that
Yeah,
breakdown of how our brains view shapes.
shapes and emotion really. Like we're so used to. I guess as people, or like even if you're a baby, like how does a baby know how to smile or laugh? That'll be
You're
fun for
mentioning
you to.
baby pun. I was gonna say I love that. Casually put that in there. It's so true, dude. It's I'm in that space, but yeah. Don't worry. When you have your next stream, Shantanu, I'll have little Willow on my lap and we can watch your stream together, and I'm sure
I'm
she
so
can.
excited.
We'll make it happen. We do daddy and daughter stream. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see if she has any flower puns for us.
I'm sure she will. Anything like that, she will definitely have occasional puns.
Oh, wait.
No doubt about that. I guess when we do a maybe like a little poll vote, we've got to do names, right? Rather than like A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're more creative than that, right? We can figure. And to be fair, we've had some names already through the stream. Maybe I can throw some out there, and we associate a name with character when you're in a good place, maybe.
Perfect. Yeah, let's do that. I think I'm almost done with
nice
sort of the characters, but if anyone has any suggestions, always open to it. And then we're going to try experimenting with background colors and then just see how they work in a layout to create like a fun little poster. So just using like a really simple 11 by 17 artboard that you can just easily print out if you needed to. Super standard, very basic size. And just going along from there.
Sounds good. It's I've got the fun job, and it is a fun job to be fair. I'm scrolling through the chat because there have been such awesome comments and everyone's loving your work, but trying to find the names of the characters, and I can see a few that's popped out. So you let me know in your good plan, and we can maybe type in the name beside a character so we know, and that can be our poll maybe there.
Let's do it.
So I feel like we both liked, right? I could be wrong, the Carnation Tarnation one, right?
Yep.
That's a first name and a surname, to be fair. You went all in, Francisca. I love that. That's a passport ready character. So yeah, who could we assign that one to? Carnation Tarnation. I don't know who looks like. Who looks like they will cause the most havoc?
Open to interpretation here.
Yeah, let us know. You let us know, my friends. Who for Carnation Tarnation, which one? And this is like a bit of a game show now. You got to do top left, top right, top bottom. Which ones do you feel associates with Carnation Tarnation? Let us know. The first one that comes in, we'll put it in there. So you already win. And then I guess the $1 million question is actually the poll. Who's gonna come out on top for that?
We're just trying to align the shapes, just so there's consistency there. Again, just trying different things, trial and error. I feel like there's definitely like a harmony within the other three that I'm trying to achieve for this one.
I'm wondering, like, I guess for the consistency, like, I guess the brown behind with the kind of starry, that's the continual vibe throughout all of them, though. In my brain, I was like, what other elements was there anything that kind of links them? I mean, you can clearly see from the shapes, but like the colors. But to be fair, the star is quite a big asset, right? Which stands out a lot. So I think we're safe on that.
Yeah. Let's see what it looks like with a different mouth.
That looks shocked now, no? Like a bit of a surprised. Like, oh my gosh, what have I done? I've caused havoc. There we go. Maybe
Carnation Tarnation.
There we go. I think that's gonna have to be. I think I'm excited to do this poll as well. So maybe we could assign Carnation Tarnation with the top right hand one.
Awesome. Yeah. So in a pretty decent spot with these.
Yeah.
Probably give it one last stab.
I bet it's tricky, right? Because you kind of want to, like, it's one of those ones where you want to keep on, and I get that vibe as well. And I'm the same. You kind of want to edit, and maybe I could change it because it's so easy just to dabble, right? And
yeah,
they're looking good though, man. They're looking
Thank
really
you.
Good. Especially from the process of seeing it from on a scanned in image as well. I mean, that's maybe for those who've just tuned in, you can see maybe the scan on the far right. Maybe we can zoom in a little bit so you can see the vibes of it. But yeah, you can see what Shantanu's done with the nice scanned in versions.
We started with a sketch and sort of like traced over it a little bit, using that as a foundation, and then sort of got along to creating more solid vector shapes using like basic design principles like symmetry, repetition, scale, etc., etc. So I feel like there's a decent contrast here within colors and characters as well, and then we can sort of play around with it, how they're looking in the layout and composition. So you can probably start with just adding like little background colors and then seeing where to go from there.
Oh yeah, I remember we had a comment about the and maybe that could be one for the poster or maybe in the squares you're doing, but the clouds, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, adding like a little bit of
we can definitely
a
add like some.
Simpsons theme song kind of
Let's do
style
it.
cloud intro. Just imagine if you looked up in the sky and this was one of our sons. I don't know,
Oh my God.
I'd be freaked out, but also like this is Instagram worthy. I do believe in it.
It's kind of like Rick and Morty. I don't know
Oh,
if you've
dude,
seen
you know, I'm
it.
so glad you read. I had a vibe that you might like that because these characters, I don't want to just assume, you know, but there's some kind of elements of like Rick and Morty or what's the other show? Is it Adventure Time or yeah, Gumball or something? I think it is. But yeah, it's got that kind of dark but really funny sort of style. We've got I hope I hope I'm saying the name correctly. Just Great, who just joined us. So welcome if you just joined us. Or you have just joined us. I'm saying welcome. So any questions you have, as always, if you're on YouTube, please get those in for Shantanu. And you've come at a good time because now we're kind of, I guess, finalizing our last colors, and then we're going to be jumping into a bit of a poster design. So you've come at a good time. And of course, names are very welcome, my friends. We said that we're in the space of naming, so get in there too.
So yeah, just like using the eyedropper tool with the rectangle selected, picking what you think works, what I think would work best. Again, it kind of has to work together, and then we'll probably use like a darker color in a background just to ensure all the vibrant colors sort of are further accentuated.
That blue looks correct. Could you humor me just for a I know that it wouldn't work because of the shape of the blue, but you had a blue just then, and it looks kind of mental. And no, it was the one below. I know it wouldn't work because obviously it cut it completely, but I was like, that looks pretty. It looks crazy. But yeah, again,
super cool interaction with like negative space too.
Yeah, exactly. My brain went into different mode there.
Let's try it.
It looks like is it a pufferfish? Like from the angle, maybe. Kind of look at it.
I love it.
There we go.
Do you find yourself hunching a lot when you design?
Oh, dude, our back posture. We don't talk about this a lot, right? This is a thing for designers, though. We have the whole back of Notre Dame kind of moment going on, and it's a good chair setup is so important.
Yeah.
I'm
on like a
second, but yeah, it's so important.
I'm on like a stool situation at the moment, so I always have to catch myself.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go for a walk around the block when you after your stream to stretch the muscles. But I guess that comes down to kind of what we said about having a comfortable space, right, and a kind of comfortable area that you work in. Because when you're hours and hours designing, having maybe a good desk, good setup, but even the chair is so important, right, for our posture. So yeah. There we go, my friends. You heard it first from Shantanu and Kieran. Get a good chair, invest in it, and your productivity will soar through the roof. I'm sure.
Or take care of yourself.
Yeah. Especially if you're an Arsenal fan. Yeah, just saying.
Oh my God, yeah.
Just say. But anyway, moving on swiftly. So you let me know, Shantanu. Did you want to do the poster next or the poll? Whatever you let me know and we'll lead it.
Let's do the poll, and then while we're waiting for things to come in, we can start designing a little bit and playing with the layout.
Good shot. Okay, I think we should maybe make like that executive decision of allocating the names to the.
Let's do it.
And then we can do the poll, and then that way we know. So we had the what was it? Carnation Tarnation. Which one did we think that was? I'll throw a name out there. You can assign them.
Awesome. Yeah, let's do it. I think that would really work as like a main heading for the poster. But if not, we can do this little top right over here.
Carnation Tarnation. Because it's like as well, because they're both long words, like having them stacked, it would work. You can imagine the alignment in our brains, right? Already seeing it. You're already seeing it's working out well.
Thinking alike. I love it.
Of course, we've got that vibe. Magnolia. That was which one would you like to assign?
I think
Magnolia
the top left.
Yeah.
Top left feels like one.
Should we type it in as well? I guess just that way when we have the pod, we can.
Let's do it.
Because I feel like I would forget, even me saying I know what I'm like, and I would forget the names. What kind of man would I be? Just shouting out names and I don't even know which one who they're for. We'll keep scrolling through, and again, keep throwing in names, my friends, whilst because I'm scrolling up. But if your name pops up, my scroll will go all the way down, and I will see you first up. So feel free to throw some names in there.
yeah, again, just picking a random typeface, and then
What
we
typeface
can.
is that? I actually really like that. It's quite nice actually.
It's PP editorial. It's by Pangram.
Nice. Looks good. Works well in caps as well.
Yeah.
Alpha G Omega. I love that. Maybe Alpha. I don't wanna butcher the name because it's such a cool name, but
Let's do it.
Alpha Chi Omega. Yeah, you can either choose all three or you can choose one of the three because I don't think you have any artboard left if you put them on Alpha Chi Omega.
Let's do it. I see Hokey Pokey in there. I like that.
Keep them going for it. Hokey Poke. Ah, nice. Okay. Fun. Fun and go for it. Buds and Roses. These names are good, my friends. I think that's it. Hokey Poke. Do you know what, Hokey? I thought that was you that made that. Hokey. I just realized. Sorry, Mo. You've taken.
Yeah, I have
Shame on you,
chat
Shantanu. You took
application.
crazy. Yeah, you got it too. Yeah, Hokey Pokey. I'm loving it. Buttercup Breakdown. You guys are having too much fun with these names now. I
Oh my
feel
god, I
like
love it.
I love. We do love it. We do. And we're going to give you an even harder challenge now of actually having to vote for which ones you like the best. Of course, all of them are strong. They can
Yeah,
be
go for it.
Yeah. Cool. So we know which is which, do we? Now with our names?
A little bit, but yeah, we're just
Yeah.
gonna start like putting things
Nice.
in layout and then seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. We can try making a couple options here. Obviously, we have to resize them. We're just gonna take the elements and then group them with the background, just so there's a works as one element too. So we can start with something pretty simple. Just have them sort of aligned in a square grid. Let me double check. They're all grouped.
And whilst you're in the flow of that, the poster, maybe we could set up a poll in the chat. That could be one for Sam to do, maybe. I'll just put it out there. So we've got our names, but if we've forgotten which ones are which, we could go by the color of the background. We've got yellow, green, blue, pink. Excuse me. And then, yeah, my friends, we can vote maybe on which ones you guys are really liking. Yeah. Let us know. I always say for the guest, I'll keep them in suspense, but because you got the chat up, Shantanu, you're going to see just as much as I am. So there is no suspense in this realm, but it's all good. I'm curious to know what you lovely folks are liking. So yeah, maybe we can set up a poll shortly with those color backgrounds, and then you guys can choose what you dig.
Let's do it. This is going to be an embarrassing moment here because I don't have a grid up, so just using little.
That's all right. No, we're learning tips. There we go.
Let's see what that looks like as a decorative element as well.
Smooth. I like that. It started off as that's such a designer. I love that. We don't make mistakes. We only make things that just haven't happened yet. I don't know. It's just
exactly.
There we go. Smooth. That was a smooth recovery, I have to say.
But yeah, we're just like playing around with the layout a little bit, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, adding little decorative elements that we may or may not use. And then, yeah, I'm really digging Carnation Tarnation, and I think I want to keep that as like the main headline of the poster. And then we can sort of play with the typography here. And there's definitely space to like add little names down at the bottom. So we can definitely do that.
It's really cool as well. Going back to, I know you obviously you had a bit of methodology when it came to the colors as well, but it's nice seeing how they all kind of work in sync as well. Because I guess that's one thing, color, right? It varies in terms of like whether it's trending in terms of the moment and whatnot, and especially I don't know if you find it when you have brand guidelines, for example, with certain clients and brands, and obviously we won't say names, but there's certain things in place that you just don't do for legibility purposes, right? But when you have fun with this, you can kind of, the world's, I mean, obviously as long as it's accessible for all, which design always should be, you can kind of have fun with it, right? And actually choose colors that maybe doesn't tend to match, but they still work. Does that make sense? So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just playing around with different like type possibilities here, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't.
We've got a question here from Mo. Mo's on fire today. I'm loving it. He said, BuzzFeed quiz. Which Shantanu which Shantanu flower are you? Is that supposed to be which flower are you? Which Shantanu flower are you?
Or just, I guess, which one of these flowers
That's
are
what
you?
I was thinking. Or if it was like actual real flowers, like if there was a name of a flower that associates with you. I'm going way too off piece. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's what you originally said. Let's keep it to that realm. Yeah.
I love it. I just love when you're like when you think of different possibilities, because it's like you're
I'm
working at
gonna
like different.
hone it back in. Hone it back in. We've only got about 15, 20 minutes of a stream left. Otherwise, that could be a whole different stream in itself.
I love it. We've come up with like so many different topics for different streams this year. So
I love these graphical elements though as well. They're looking really cool.
Yeah, just doing something different with the typography, just so there's like a bit of swirly like to go along with sort of the decorative elements that we have over here. So I think it still feels a bit empty, so we can definitely add some like smaller typography with the names. For me, I personally like if something's super big, there has to be something really small to sort of contrast it, just so that there's like obvious hierarchy there and like feels visually pleasing, at least to me. But again, these things are all incredibly subjective, so we can add some of the names here. We have Magnolia, Hokey Pokey, Alpha, and then let's get one more name. Let's get one more name in.
This could potentially be the best ever band. I'm just saying, in terms of like structure of. Can you imagine? Now on stage, no.
Yeah. But yeah, just going to the chat, seeing if there's anything new. I like Hendeka go on, just so we like sort of learn from there.
Yeah, that was a learning curve, right? we
Yeah.
got schooled up in the stream. I do love that actually. That
exactly.
was a new one. I think we had Els
Great suggestion.
Izzy as well. Mentioned. But again, was in essence of the Hendeka. I can't even pronounce the word now.
Nice
you know what I'm trying to say. There we go. So yeah, we can do a part. Actually, we've got the names of the color backgrounds in there. We just put it in there: yellow, blue, pink, green. So yeah, vote, my friends. Which ones are you feeling? Let us know in the chat.
Probably makes more sense to have it all in like one line, maybe.
It's funny because I feel like as well when you have them all aligned and obviously nicely spaced out, like the elements of like, and I'm just throwing ideas out here. You let me know if it sounds pants or not.
Go for it.
Like having, like rather than like bullet points in between to break it up, but maybe like the shape of a triangle. Do you know what I mean? The angle.
You read my mind.
Yeah, that's an Arsenal thing, dude. We're in sync. I knew that would be a thing.
I love it.
Yes, my friends, we have it here. So the lovely Sam has put in the chat a poll, so you can go in there now and you can vote for which colors you're liking. So you can see them on the screen there now, just to get a feel for it. And we've broken it down: yellow, blue, pink, green. Yes, this will keep you up at night, I imagine. Of course it will. It's a poll. Well, why wouldn't it do? So yeah, go in there, vote, and then we'll share the answers, the results very soon.
Oh, I just thought of a better way to do this. So you could probably just make a text box here and then have it justified.
I don't know where the time has got. This is generally the first time I think I've done a stream where I've been so locked in saying that I'm realizing on track of time, and I want to make sure that we do still a nice little recap of where we are, because time has flown by. But what we do is maybe when you're in a good place with this last little bit, we could do like a little recap of where we've been at.
Let's do it.
Yeah, because we've got time, but I don't want to stop you mid-flow, so you let me know when you're in a good place.
Of course, almost done, I feel.
Nice.
So we're just aligning the type. Then we have like some smaller decorative elements, and then you can sort of put the date or something down there, in there. And
we've got, oh, sorry, go for it, buddy.
Yeah, and to your point, let's add little like bullet points in there, just so.
Nice. Okay, good shape.
We'll call
it was
back
kind of
to
set up for it, right? Okay, kind of feel like it was meant to be that little graphic was. It was always going to be a a breakup between. We've got the very awesome Nick Longa. He said he's loving these designs. He's liking the yellow as well. So,
what's up, Nick? Yeah. So nice to see you. I had my last live stream with Nick.
Oh, really? Oh, it's like a family reunion. I love that.
Family reunion. So nice to see
We're all
you.
in one place. I love I love that.
We can probably use the different colors that we have for the backgrounds here. And then yeah, maybe some other decorative type down at the bottom. Just playing with the layout a little bit.
We've got Tara who said she would definitely go to see this band. I love that. We could be the managers, Shantanu. Imagine the vision. We're gonna get off piece now. Yeah, we'll start this band up. We're taking submissions if you want to be part of the band. Just saying, with these 4 names, and then who knows? The world is your oyster.
World's your oyster. We can probably fill out the space a little bit better. We don't really have to rely on using square shapes for the backgrounds. And then you can select the backgrounds here, pull it up, just so we're using the space effectively. And then bring back our little decorative elements if they still fit. But yeah, just like keeping it, it's a bit Warhol-esque, super good mix of typography and illustration. So nice. Again, you never know where you're pulling your inspiration from. Going back to our initial discussion.
Of course, and you made a great point as well. So I was going to say that you mentioned at the beginning of the stream you wanted our lovely folks to kind of be part of the stream, and we've had our friends kind of throwing in options and suggestions, which has been quite nice because organically things have formed and maybe in a way you never thought it would at the beginning of the stream, which is cool.
That's why I love doing these things and like keeping it super interactive as well, because you never know what you're going to end up with. But yeah, I think we're in a good spot. Unless anyone else has any other suggestions, but how are you feeling about it, Kieran?
I think it's looking good. I mean, I'm looking at the designs, but I'm also now seeing comments relating to this band now. I feel like we mentioned about what kind of we've got a question of what kind of music would this band make. Like I apologize, we've gone off piece, but I don't know. I feel like maybe we haven't. I feel like we've kind of kept it to the essence of the characters and trying to justify it now. But yeah, it's looking good. I like how you've kind of broken up, and obviously those key colors of the graphic in between each of the letters is also the colors that relate to the squares as well. So it kind of feels like the whole thing just flows together. This would make such a cool quilted like pattern sheet. I don't know, going off piece now, but yeah.
There's so many possibilities. I love it. But yeah, just like trying different things, and again, so many different possibilities. We were just basically using simple vector shapes, forming them together, sort of collaging things. And then, as you said, like it's super interesting how like when you see certain shapes aligned a certain way, it can sort of reflect a face based on sort of your experiences and your perception. So I love that. Yeah, that's awesome.
And do let us know, Sam. What I mean, I'm curious to know what's the poll? What's the poll saying? I mean, we'll sit that maybe towards the end, but yeah, the anticipation. I can't get enough of it right now. It's killing me inside. But let us know. I'm curious to know. But yeah, I mean, do you have a favorite as well? And not trying to sway the audience, of course, but like, what you're seeing now is that now that we've got them kind of all laid out and in front of us, is there one that you're kind of drawing more towards?
Me personally, I feel like I have a soft spot for the yellow. Yellow is my favorite color.
That's why you started that one first. I like that.
Of course.
There's a method of the whole thing.
First come, first served. So it's nice. Like soft spot for yellows, feels super spring and sort of nice and peaceful. So we can try like different background colors just to see what works.
It looks as though our friends have definitely agreed with you as well. I like that color actually. That was cool. That purple. Yeah. So yellow seems to be the winner. But they all work ridiculously well, which is great to see as well.
Thank you. Yeah, let's try.
We could do. I was going to say because I would love to easily do another. I could do another hour, 2 hours on this stream and doing duplicates. But I want to make sure that we can, of course, follow up. With you in terms of how folks can, find out more information. And of course, we do a little recap. So we got about 3 minutes left, and then we can shut up shop.
Let's do it. Yeah, just trying different colors in the background could potentially work as like a series of different posters. Sort of working together. Again, I love how people sort of interpreted it as like a band poster or like a concert or event, which is awesome. Like again, like these things sort of take a life of their own once they're open to interpretation. So placing these things into different contexts and then creating a whole sort of system and identity around it could be also an exciting avenue. I mean, there's so many different possibilities, right? Like how are these things going to be living, like whether it's motion, 3D, sort of taking a different life of their own. So I mean, yeah, this conversation's been super exciting. I'm so glad everybody got to tune in and interact with each other.
Yeah. And it's cool to, I guess, to see that process, right, from literally drawn, scanned in to what we're seeing now. I mean, that's the beauty, right, of what we do as a career. It's seeing that transformation and actually not knowing what the end might be and what it look like,
Yeah.
which is actually the unknown is scary, but also quite exciting, right?
Yeah, basically just like looking at the same things most other people are, but like trying to find something different within your perception. And that's amazing because you're just applying your own sort of unique sensibilities and experiences onto your work that can be unique and ownable to yourself. Because at the end of the day, like your perspective is your perspective, and it's not anybody else's, right? So it's cool.
Nice. Well, I guess it's been very awesome to sort of see excuse me, everyone's comments in the chat. But Shantanu, my friend, how can our lovely audience sort of follow up about you, find more about your work? We can end on that as well, because I have no doubt people want to. We can put the links in the chat, but maybe you can throw it out to us.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at shantanu.sharma, or you can find my work and portfolio at shantanu.work. So lots of dots in there, but it's a good sort of system, I guess. So yeah, keep in touch. I'd love to interact with as many people as I can and get to know and find out about other creatives. So it's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Of course, and I mean, I will no doubt we're going to stay in touch, being the Arsenal fans as we were. So we will. I'll see you next season for sure, right?
See you next season.
So my friends, that is it actually today. I mean, it's gone so quick, and I really do hope you've enjoyed it. I know I definitely have, and I hope you have too, Shantanu, of course.
Of course, it's always fun being here. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. And just to end, my friends, so stay tuned and join a new episode of Branding Basics with the very awesome graphic designer Anika Agarwal, and learn how to create a promo video for your brand, I should say. So on that note, a massive thank you, Shantanu, for being here today and for showing us your design work, right? You've enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Kieran. It was an honor and pleasure. So thank you so much.
And of course, thank you to the chat, of course. Without you lovely folks, there is no stream. And of course, to the Adobe behind the scenes, making things run very smoothly. So on that note, I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you very soon, my friends. Ciao.
See you soon. Bye.